The LA Chargers are 2-0, and we are going to Pittsburgh to try and make that 3-0 in just as many seasons. When was the last time this was done? It's crazy. It's the new era. In Harbaugh we trust. And if you are with us, thank you so much. Welcome to another episode of the BuiBros Football Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Quinn Bowie, and I, of course, cheer for the LA Chargers. Across from me, my brother Brandon.
And I cheer for the Minnesota Vikings. Boom.
Yes.
On today's episode, we're going to be doing a deep dive comparison of the positions for the LA Chargers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Kind of be matching them up, seeing what we think, making some predictions. What do you think?
Yes, absolutely. So we are going to talk about it, give a little preview into the next matchup, but we have a way to quantify and back up the reason why the LA Chargers are going 3-0 this week. Brennan, why don't you wave your little techie wand there,
Boom.
And we'll pull this up.
This is the
then
wrong page.
we are going to, do you mind just... Whoa! And we're going to pull this up, and we have the LA Chargers versus the Pittsburgh Steelers here. So, both teams 2-0. Both teams atop of the division. Both teams top 1 and 2 in points allowed ranking for the NFL. The LA Chargers are first with 13 points allowed in 2 weeks. The Pittsburgh Steelers are second. There's a lot of similarities between these two teams and how they're playing.
I just want to say that the Vikings are third at 26 points allowed. Just for fun.
Just good.
Just for
Thank
fun.
you so
Okay,
much.
continue.
Yes,
Sorry.
Right.
Vikings are good too.
A lot of similarities between the two teams here, Brandon, which is an odd thing to say. The Chargers have not been this smash mouth football, this tough, mean, rugged team that they are this year. The Pittsburgh Steelers, however, always have seemed to have that identity. And they are led by their defense, just like they normally are and have been in years past. They are also a team who runs the ball at a way higher rate than passing. Justin Fields has 43 attempts compared to the 77 rush attempts that the team has had. The Chargers, when you look at that, similar numbers, right? Justin Herbert has had some of the lowest passing numbers in his career, but it's translating to wins. This is the type of football that is going to get the dubs in the NFL. And we've talked about it recently, Brandon, where there may be this shift into what the NFL is and how these games are played and how teams are winning. And it starts with the defense. And it's complemented by the run game, and everything is supplemented by having a smart quarterback and that passing game there. Interesting to see compared to how it's been in the past. Big passing league. We've talked about it before. But here we are. Two teams relying on their run game, relying on their defense, relying on their coaching with Mike Tomlin over there. It is going to be a really tough football game, especially in Pittsburgh. I foresee some bumps and bruises ahead for both the LA Chargers and the Pittsburgh Steelers, but let's get into this. We do a head-to-head comparison, position group against position group. We'll give an advantage to one side, disadvantage to another. It'll calculate a score and help justify the reason why the LA Chargers are going to win in week 3. Well, quarterback. We talked about Justin Fields right there quickly. He is the pseudo QB1 on that team. Russell Wilson was supposed to be, or so they said, and then he got injured. Justin Fields did terribly in Chicago, got replaced by Caleb Williams, probably going to get replaced by Russell Wilson, who's getting paid a lot of money by the Denver Broncos. So bad. This whole thing, so bad. Advantage, Justin Herbert. No matter last week, 2 turnovers. It does not matter because we have one of the top QBs on this planet.
Yep.
On this planet.
Yep.
Jim Harbaugh says that. And you know what we do? You know what we do on this channel? We trust in Jim Harbaugh.
Yes, we do.
Okay? So, disadvantage to the Steelers in that regard. Now, this is where things get a little bit interesting. Our wide receivers against their cornerback group. Quentin Johnston, surprisingly, doing pretty well this year. And again, we're using PFF to help back up our reasoning. He's been the number one wide receiver for the LA Chargers. He had 5 catches for 51 yards and 2 TDs last week. He's looking nice. He's there. He's getting these quick passes, getting him in space, allowing him to do what he does best with that yak. You want that yak, right? Fantastic. 72.4. He's rated 21st out of 107 wide receivers. For Q, I'll take that. I'll take that all day. That's pretty awesome. Surprisingly, though, the rookie is better than him in terms of PFF grade. He's at he's 16th instead of 21st, and he's got a 73.4. He made his presence known last week. A couple catches, nothing too big, but he's great in the blocking game. I believe he had one play that was actually called back due to penalty. And then we've got Joshua Palmer over there on the other side, 94th out of 107, 51 grade. We talked about him. He hasn't been there in the first 2 weeks. We thought he was going to be that WR1 going forward to this year with his familiarity with Justin Herbert, but it does not seem that the coaching staff feels the same way. Switching over to the Steelers defensive backfield, you have Donta Jackson, this year a 63 grade, and you've got Joey Porter Jr. I believe he was the first pick of the second round last year. Obviously, the son of Joey Porter, who was also playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So there's that legacy element. His rookie season, it was quite good. He made a lot of good plays, and he made his presence known. This year, right now, his PFF grade, obviously not end all be all, but it has gone down to 51.6. Run defense is not where it needs to be. It's 37. It's not very good. But big names, they are known for their defense, and the fact that they get help from their defensive line, they don't need as much time to make sure they cover these wide receivers. I'm actually going to give it to the to the cornerback group for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think our wide receiver group has taken some steps in the right direction, but I don't think that they are up there with this defense and how they are all working together. Now we have the running backs against their linebackers. J.K. Dobbins, 13th out of 47 running backs right now. PFF grade, 72.4. I didn't mention this last time, Brad, but J.K. Dobbins is the first running back in Chargers history to have 100-plus rushing yards in the first 2 weeks ever. And that's
100
including
rushing yards?
100-plus rushing yards in the first 2 weeks, back-to-back games. Not even LaDainian Tomlinson did that for the Chargers. So he's on this outworldly pace. He is number one in the league in terms of rushing yards over 2 weeks. This running back group and Gus Edwards getting those grindy type short yardage, tough yards. They're looking pretty good. They're looking very good, I must say. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they stole a divisional rival linebacker drafted in the same year as Kenneth Murray, who also got shipped off to another team, Tennessee Titans. Side note, he's not doing very well over there. We let him go for good reason. Patrick Queen this year, 38.4. What is going on? What is going on over there? 73rd out of 77. not that good. He needs that supporting cast of the Ravens and that system, because he's obviously taken time to learn how to gel with this group of guys. And when you go into a system that is so well oiled and just like this moving machine, you need to be on your game. Otherwise, you're gonna be exposed. And it seems like that might be what's going on here. The early days, kind of getting accustomed to this new system. We will see how he adapts. But they were able to take away the run game this last week. And so that could be something that happens here. But the other guy, Landon Roberts, 60.5 defensive grade going on here. Run defense of only 54.6. Listen, this resurgence of this run game and J.K. Dobbins' career has been fantastic for the LA Chargers. And for that reason, these middle of the line linebackers, getting used to their system linebackers, are not going to get the advantage here. So we're going up 2-1 Chargers Steelers. Now we get to the tight ends against their safeties. Okay, we have Hayden Hurst, we have Will Dissly. They're not doing too well. PFF has Hayden Hurst still as the starting tight end here. Will Dissly's definitely that guy. He's definitely the pass catching guy. But here, Hayden Hurst, 42, not looking good. 68th out of 69 when it comes to tight ends. Whew. All right. These guys have made some splash plays, but not enough to go against Minkah Fitzpatrick, who's a baller. Top 3 safety in the league. Then you got Deshaun Elliott, who this year is apparently playing better than Minkah Fitzpatrick. Like Elliott's 4th out of 78, Minkah's 10th. Like, these guys are insane. And again, this all ties into that defensive line. It's crazy. When you don't need to just keep running and chasing the other team. I have to give it to the safeties for the Steelers. They're
pretty good.
They're a great duo.
Yeah.
Minkah, like I said, top 3 safety in the league. And the way our tight ends are already a weakness in our group, but the way they're playing, not inspiring much confidence. But who is inspiring confidence is our offensive line, anchored by our 2 tackles. Again, PFF's top tackle duo in week 2. We have Rashawn Slater, who's an 83.4, ranked 5th out of tackles. We have Joe Alt rated 11th out of tackles. That shows you something. If they were the top 2 in week 2, their numbers weren't there in week 1. They are starting to be sound bookends, and they're gelling with the interior line as well, with Trey Pipkins, Zion Johnson, Bradley Bozeman, 26th, 19th, and 30th out of their positions groups respectively. Not as great as the ends, but they are gelling. They are starting to come together and give Justin Herbert some time. Yes, Brandon.
We didn't mention this, but we did mention, week 1, Joe Alt had 0 pressures in his 11 snaps against Max Crosby, which is huge.
And only 1 pressure throughout the whole game.
And then I saw this week that Jadeveon Clowney had his worst ever grade in a game in his career, a 30 grade, because he was going against Joe Alt, which is huge. And I've been reading about how this is the true test. This is the test. This game, he goes against TJ Watt. What happens? Can he do it? If he does it, this guy's legit, right? Obviously, he's been very legit so far, but this is Max Crosby's great. Jadeveon Clowney, he's a little old now, but T.J. Watt, whew, that's gangster. So
T.J. Watt, absolutely, like leading the way with that defensive line. Out of the 114 edges, two. I want to know who won it. I'm like off the top of my head, I cannot think. Maybe it's Myles Garrett. That's what my guess. And
I just
we'll
haven't
find
seen
that
anything on him this year.
Yeah, if anybody listening knows, like, please let us know in the comments. But T.J. Watt, 93 rated edge rusher there, second overall. You have Casey Hayward on the interior. He's also second out of the defensive interior, which is absolutely wild. Alex Highsmith is doing extremely well. Then you have inside as well, Keanu Benton. All these guys about 60 plus when it comes to their PFF rating. This D-line is legit. This O-line is legit. New combination, and oh my goodness. Rashawn Slater has held his own on the left side. So let's work through this. Rashawn Slater against Highsmith, Casey Hayward. Rashawn Slater, Zion Johnson. Those two take the two defensive players. I think that's a good matchup. We saw Zion Johnson step up last week. He was one of the top 5 rated players on our team, not just defense or offense. So point us. We got center Bradley Bozeman, and the grade is not doing him justice, but let's just say we'll give it to the Steelers because Benton has a higher PFF grade. He's playing well. Then we go over to the other side. Now the right side, like you said, this is where it's a big test. Now, it is tough to judge because we're not necessarily just looking at the O-line. What Harbaugh is going to do to nullify what Harbaugh and Greg Roman are going to do. We've got our interior D lineman, Scott Matlock, who is our starting fullback. We saw him on a couple plays. There's a play that Herbert actually had, just side note, where we actually heard him from the TV view where he was yelling, other side, God damn it. Just like he was so pissed. And I was surprised how clearly we saw it but he was trying to get Scott Matlock just to shift over to the other damn side. But we got big body D linemen coming up to help with this. We have our 2 tight ends, both who are known for their blocking abilities. I think that has to play a part here. And as much as this may be a homer pick, the way Harbaugh and this coaching staff, Greg Roman, they use their offensive linemen, I think that I have to give this and give the benefit of the doubt to the Chargers O-line. And our offense takes a 3-2 lead here, which is interesting because our 2 offenses, Steelers, Chargers, not amongst the best in the league. When we look at the teams, Chargers offense 22nd rated, Steelers 16th. So not a lot of fireworks going on, but we take the 3-2 lead. And we will now move to the defense, to the strong point of the Chargers team at the moment. So our cornerback group, Christian Fulton, Asante Samuel Jr., Dean Leonard, Jasir Taylor. These guys, names, do you know any of them? Maybe Asante Samuel Jr., and not necessarily you, but like household names. Christian Fulton was, I believe, 2nd round pick a few years back for the Titans. Didn't work out. Jasir Taylor. What late round draft pick, Dean Leonard, Canadian guy who was late round draft pick. If he was, yeah, he was a late round draft pick. A bunch of makeshift secondary players coming into it with an anchor, with Asante Samuel Jr. They looked good. They were bang, bang. We talked about that. Bang, bang. Ball got to the receiver. Boom. Our secondary was there. Pretty solid. Then let's flip over to the other side. The wide receivers for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay. Led by George Pickens.
Right.
George Pickens so far. Well, let's start with Justin Fields. He's throwing 30 out of 43. So completion percentage close to 70%. Not bad. Not bad. But only 136 yards per game. So similar to the Herbert boat, but he's only thrown 1 touchdown. He's taken 4 sacks. George Pickens has 8 receptions through 2 weeks for 114 yards. No touchdowns. Van Jefferson, Calvin Austin III. Van Jefferson, outcast from the Rams. Calvin Austin, highly touted coming out of college. Hasn't really done much so far. I'm giving advantage to the Chargers. Cornerback group gets it done against these wide receivers over there. Next, we have our linebackers. Bad news at the beginning of the game. I have to see what the update is here. Nothing at the moment, but Junior Colson, our 3rd-round rookie out of Michigan, so another Harbaugh boy, another Jesse Minter boy, and this guy knew our defense. That was the whole storyline coming out of training camp, is that this guy was so far ahead of even the veterans when it came to learning the playbook and understanding the system. He's out, but backed up by Deion Henley, which we talked about. Huge game last week. Great performance. Denzel Perryman, tackling machine. It's absolute, our linebackers are incredible out there going against the Steelers running backs. It's a 2-headed monster back there. Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren. Now, Najee Harris is 37 carries so far. Not too bad. Nearly 20 carries a game. That's pretty good. 139 yards. Only a 3.8 average. That's not good. 0 touchdowns. Najee is continuing his ways. He was a 1st-round draft pick, and as a rookie, he broke out, but he is not this running back. This goes back to the whole argument, should you use draft capital, high draft capital on running backs? This is a reason why you shouldn't. Najee, great story, good player. That's what I'll say. Jaylen Warren had way more explosive plays when it came to the Pittsburgh Steelers last year. He had an injury at a training camp, so he's still getting involved in that system. But 11 carries for 49 yards. That's a 4.5 average. That's very good in the NFL. That shows the difference of that big playability of the 2 running backs. So when you have these 2 running backs and no threat at quarterback and wide receiver, and you have these linebackers that are playing lights out, tackling machines, the Chargers team, they're tackling very well. Very well. It's going to the linebacker group for the Chargers. Now here we go. Safety group against the tight end group. Pat Freiermuth is the bigger name when it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's only rotating. He's caught 8 balls for 66 yards. Nothing to write home about, but he's rotating in and out because they have other tight ends who they trust more when it comes to blocking. And you get to the LA Chargers and our defense. Well, you have the best in the game. Not a homer pick, but you got the best in the game, Derwin James Jr. out there. Doesn't matter what PFF is saying right now.
Don't you have the best PFF ranked one as well?
I have the best ranked free safety as well in Elijah Molden. Isn't that crazy? Outcast from the Tennessee Titans. We get him, he comes, and all of a sudden, when you get a little bit of coaching, you get some coaching in there, and all of a sudden, this guy's playing lights out. Our safety group is incredible. Against their rotational tight end piece, we don't even have to spend much time here. It's like when you have Derwin James there, and now you have another guy in Elijah Molden. When Alohi Gilman is injured, who's also a stud back there, this whole group is going to be very similar. It depends, like, to the quarterback conversation when we are going head to head. We don't need to spend much time. All right. Our D line, their O line. Their O-line is not doing very well. Justin Fields has been sacked 4 times in 2 games, which is, not necessarily the worst in the league. But when we look at Justin Fields and how he's taken pressure and how he's taken sacks and what that's done to his game, he's about to have a nightmare this week coming up with our D-line. 4 edge rushers absolutely crushing it out there. Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack are doing their thing. Joey Bosa, 3rd. So he's just behind TJ Watt in terms of PFF rating with a 91. Khalil Mack is 10th when it comes to edge rushers. And then we've got strong interior D linemen that just seem to be rotating in there with Poona Ford, Morgan Fox, the aforementioned fullback that we've got going on there. It's just gelling. These guys are getting so much pressure. They're playing hard. They're playing fast. And they're going against an offensive line, who besides their right guard and left tackle, maybe, are really poor. And Justin Fields is known to take sacks, so that combination there, I'm giving it advantage to the Chargers. Joey Bosa gets another week where he's healthy. I think he only played 14 snaps last week. You've got Khalil Mack playing lights out, and you've got the other 2 edge rushers plus the interior D linemen holding up their own. It's incredible to see. D-line advantage goes to the Chargers. Now we get to the kicker. We all know my belief in Cameron Dicker. We have a kicker, and this is tough because we're going against one of the greatest of all time to do it in Chris Boswell. Guys, accurate as can be. He can hit the long ball. He's been stout this year for the Steelers. And when you got that defense playing, you got that kicker going. It's exactly like similar. The similarities between these 2 teams right now, it's pretty crazy. Both safety groups amongst the top of the league, both D lines amongst the top of the league. The way they run the ball, the way the coach wins these hard-fought, ugly games. It's crazy to see, and I like it. I like the Chargers going towards being that type of Steelers team. As we all know, Steelers, one of the winningest franchises in the NFL, if not the most, tied with the New England Patriots, I believe. So I'll give it to the Steelers here. Tomlin is going to only be able to kick field goals, whereas the Chargers may be able to get a touchdown. And that's a little hint as to where I think this game is really going to go. So I will give the advantage to Chris Boswell and the Pittsburgh Steelers here, bringing the total 7 advantages to the Chargers and 3 for the Steelers. It is going to be an ugly game. It is going to be an ugly game. And I think that because the difference in offenses, that's really what's going to take it for us. I don't believe in the Pittsburgh offense as much. You know who they have over there, the Pittsburgh offense?
Who?
Coordinating it all? Arthur Smith. Remember what a bum that guy? He had like Saquon Barkley and
But
Kirk Cousins and
but
all
it's
that.
looked okay. Like Fields has
Yes.
you mentioned like how he takes sacks and stuff. Fields has looked like a very decent game manager, whereas he was never that before. And
Decent game manager is not good. Because game
no,
manager in itself already has this connotation to it. In
it
my
it
mind.
is though for the Steelers. It is for the Steelers
And
because that's what they
Justin
need.
Herbert right now is acting as a great game
Yeah.
manager.
But
And,
well,
and
and we know that the quarterback situation is better on your side than it is for theirs. But
yes, but like it's overall, like, it's the wide receivers. I trust our wide receivers
yeah,
more than George Pickens and co. I trust our running backs more than theirs. I trust our offensive line more than theirs.
yeah,
And so because of that, and because our like defenses are playing a similar game, have that star power and are going to both be tough, because we have that advantage on offensive line or offense, excuse me. That's why we're winning this game. But
no,
that
for
defense
sure.
is formidable. And so, in my mind, this is going to be the closest game that we have had. And it's going to be 19 Chargers, 13 Steelers.
I do see it being a low scoring game like that. And the only reason I brought up that other stuff is because you mentioned Arthur Smith. I just don't think it's as bad as it once was, in Atlanta. I think
No, no,
that
no. Arthur Smith himself is a great run coordinator. He's been a great offensive coordinator. We saw that in Tennessee. I'm saying that because we make fun of Arthur Smith all the time because
Arthur
we
Smith's
blame the
bomb.
Bijan problem.
I don't. You do. You blame
We
Pitts on Arthur
we
Smith too.
do. Okay, Brandon, ridiculous. Brothers are supposed to stick together. Crazy, wild, unbelievable. Okay, let's go. We are 2-0. We're going to 3-0. It's going to be great. This team building exercise that Harbaugh is going to be doing, staying over on the East Coast, is going to pay off dividends. Their body clock is going to be ready. They're going to be good to go for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's going to be a hard-fought battle. But at the end of it, we're going to be 3-0 coming out of Pittsburgh, coming back to LA. Dun, 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 for week 4 and those defending Super Bowl champions.
Whoa.
But here we are. Thank you so much. If you're still with us, we appreciate it. Please subscribe to the channel. If you're a Chargers fan, you're a Vikings fan, or you're an NFL fan, we're trying to build a community. Let's talk football. We love it. We do so each and every day, and we hope you do the same. Brandon, why don't you send us off?
What else is left to say? Skol Bolts, baby.
Skol Bolts!
I'm sure I surprise everybody every week with that move. They never see it coming.
Whoa! See you next time.
See you next time.